Okay, so we're going to be covering is we're going to be setting goals for 2026, talking about how to optimize your website for conversions in 2026, and your website, your Google listing, how to maximize leads, and then also your pay-per-click ads, and then create a custom plan for 2026 to actually hit your goals. If anybody wants to use the workbook that we have, there is a QR code that you can scan right there and actually get a copy of the document. So go ahead and scan that QR code, make a copy, and I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. All right. So if we haven't spoke before, my name is Alex Danner and the owner and founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, which is a digital marketing agency that only works with fencing and decking contractors. Been in the industry over 10 years now, but been focused on fencing and decking specifically in the last 5 or so years. And we do a lot of provide a lot of content, a lot of free stuff, like this webinar, but also a lot of other ways. I do a lot of public speaking. Just got back from we did the Deck Expo, we did the TimberTech Summit, and we were at the NADRA event. So if we saw anybody there, that was great. Those were all great events. I wrote the book Best Known Fence and Deck Contractor, and also have the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast. So if anybody's into podcasts, you can certainly check that out too. And then we do one of these webinars just about every month. So definitely check back in if you want to learn basically about anything related to digital marketing. We've probably done a webinar on it. And we're also part of the NADRA education committee. And we do a lot of social media posts and stuff on our channels too. To start this all off, I want to make sure that we're setting clear goals for the year. So, we're trying to think now we're, 20 days into January. So we need to get clear on what we're doing for 2026. And that's what the whole thing today is going to be about, how we can put together clear goals and, kind of set the year off right. So has anybody type in goals in the chat if you've already started, setting your goals for this year already? So if you've already started doing it or you already started thinking about it, just put that into the chat. I want to try to keep this as collaborative as possible. Got to set clear goals. I think everybody here, obviously a lot of you are doing it, but there still seems like quite a few that aren't. But if you're not setting clear goals, it's kind of like being this sailboat that's just kind of sitting out in the middle of the water, no sail, just kind of going wherever the wind takes them. There's no real direction. But what we want to do, obviously, we need to get some momentum behind that sailboat, put a sail in there and get some of that momentum going so we can actually hit the goals that we have and start to build that momentum throughout the year. So on this call, we want to basically, set those clear goals so we know exactly what we want. I have these talks a lot with different contractors, and a lot of the time it's usually kind of, there's not a clear direction. It's like, you closed out 2025 at this revenue and it's, you would like to hit the next, maybe grow a couple 100,000 or grow 1 million, but there's nothing really set in stone. So it's just kind of hoping for the best. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to actually have a clear way to actually hit these goals and achieve what we want in the new year. And, that's what we're going to be doing through this exercise. Okay. So this is one of my favorite things. One of the stories that really did change my life and just kind of blew me away, and it still does. But there was a Harvard study that interviewed graduates, and it said basically they want to see who set goals and kind of how that all ended up working out later. So they interviewed all the graduates from their class, and they said 84% of them had no specific goals, 13% had goals, but they weren't written down, and then 3% had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. The 13% of the class who had goals were earning on average twice as much as the 84% who had no goals at all. But the real crazy part was the 3% who had clear written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% put together. So the people that were graduating and actually had a plan, they were earning a whole lot more than everybody else. And as soon as I heard that, especially, now I'm very religious about it, but in the past, I didn't set clear goals. Now that's exactly what I do after hearing this. So anything to motivate you there, I'm hoping it does. So you got to write down the goals. But I want to start this off, just kind of get a current snapshot of everything and where we're at for last year. So there should be something for this in the workbook. If you didn't get the workbook, it is in the chat. I know a couple people just came in a little bit just recently. So we still have people coming in. Matilda, maybe share it again the link in there for anybody that just came in for the workbook. But in the workbook, just write down what your revenue was for 2025, and then typical jobs, number of jobs per month that you're running, and then write down these other metrics here: the average ticket, average closing percentage, and the number of trucks. All right. So once you get done with the 2025, all those KPIs, all those numbers, want you to also we want to talk about 2026 and what we want to hit this year. So I want to actually write out the revenue target that we have for this year, what you want to hit, the number of crews or trucks, anything that you want to add or you plan on adding in that department, any new hires, like maybe you want a new project manager, salesperson, maybe you want someone for the office. If there's any big changes you want to make, maybe getting an answering service, or you want to build a showroom, any big things you want to make, put that in, write that in there too. And I also want you to think about the why. So I think we all could be guilty of just kind of setting goals and not really thinking about why exactly we want to hit them, which makes it really easy to not hit them and not care about them as much. So what I'd like to do is kind of think about what would be the result of hitting these goals and what, to try to find that meaning, I guess, behind the goal. So, thinking about, maybe you want to have more time with your family, or you want to buy a new house or a new truck. Maybe you want to take the whole team out on a vacation or take your family on a vacation. Really challenge you to get really clear on what the meaning is behind that goal, not just a revenue target. Obviously we all want to, I think everyone that's in here probably wants to make more money, or very least just improve on business in some way. But think about something that'll actually motivate you more, and find that reason why you want to hit that goal more than anything. All right. So everyone had enough time here, but now that we've thought about the goals, kind of got a snapshot of what we hit the year before, we're going to figure out what we got to do to make it a reality. So there's lots of ways to get new business, but digital marketing is the way that we like to do it. And it's obviously one of the strongest ways to get that consistent lead flow. So we're going to be going through the different options, what I recommend doing first, and what's going to help you get to those levels so you can actually decide what is needed to hit those goals you have, and have a realistic chance of hitting them instead of just kind of hoping for the best. So this is all the stuff that we see work the best and stuff that we provide as well. So you have your website, your SEO, Google pay-per-click ads, local services ads, which are better for the fencing people that are in here, not so much the decking, Facebook, meta ads, and social media. So website, got to have something that's going to convert, got to have a website that actually looks good, looks better than competition. You have your SEO to get those organic leads. Those are typically the best leads over, a traditional pay-per-click ad or some type of ad. And then you also have Facebook meta ads to target people, follow them around, social media for the organic postings. We'll talk about that here in a second too. So we'll go into each one of these in more detail. Okay, so I'd imagine there's probably different levels of revenue here. So in case you're curious, this is the timeline that I put together based off what I've seen work the best and what I would do if it were me, if it was my fencing or decking company. This is kind of the timeline that I see work. It's not like an exact science. We have a lot of, there's a lot of ways to grow a business, but this is what we typically see the correct order. So if you're just starting out, or, maybe under 500,000, no matter what size you are, you got to have your Google business profile set up. You got to have reviews, and you got to be focusing on those extremely well, because that's what's going to help drive a lot of your leads. If you're under 500,000, make sure you have a website of some sort, just get something up there. And I would recommend doing social media, posting some of your jobs, things like that. Once you get bigger than that, 500 to a million, that's when you want to start thinking about a really nice professional website, something that is going to be able to be competitive in your marketplace, look better than the competition out there. And that's when you need to start doing SEO. and ranking on Google to get leads there. We've seen is that typically can carry you, to at least 1 million. And that's when the Google ads start to become affordable and start to enter the equation. Google ads are expensive, typically at least 3,000 a month is what you're going to need to run those because of how expensive it can be, especially on the decking side. But you need to have a significant budget to run them there. From there, 2 to 3, that's when Facebook ads start to come in a little bit more and we start to run those. And then 3 million plus, that's when I think social media and having a company near you to help you create this kind of content really goes well. And that's always going to be a better result than if we did it ourselves. It's always better to be in-house on the social media side. Before we go into more detail on this, I want to kind of see where your head's at in terms of what you think you need to focus on most at this point. So we're going to explain each one and go into each more detail and some things you can execute on. But I'm just curious before we go into it, where do you think you need to focus most on? Is it your website? You think you're not ranking well, so you need to do more SEO? Maybe your ads aren't doing well, or maybe you're tired of ads. Where do you think you need to focus most this year to hit what you want? Oh, I just saw the message here. So the meta ads, it can depend. Usually at least 1,500 is what we do for those. If you're running a lot of campaigns and you're using like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel ads, it's going to be more than that. Probably closer to around like 3,000. But yet typically they're going to be on the cheaper end than Google. But the big thing with the meta ads is you're guaranteed pretty much to spend what you give them as your budget. Whereas pay per click, if the demand isn't there, like, maybe this month or last month or November, whenever the slow season is, if they're set up properly, you shouldn't be spending it if the demand isn't there. You should only be spending it if if people are actually looking for those services. So Mandy said ranking on Google when competing with larger companies. Yep, that can be tough. Yeah, feel free to put those in the chat if you want. So we're going to start with the website. Website is the hub of everything. Most of the time people are going to be finding your website. They're going to look at it and see exactly, they want to learn about your company. If they're spending a lot of money on a fence or a deck, they're going to want to see who's behind the company and what you do. So I always like to say the website is like the foundation of the deck. Basically, if somebody wants to replace some boards, put on some new PVC or composite boards, whatever, and then they see the foundation's all messed up or the joists are rotting, they're not going to just put on new boards and go from there. You're going to have to tear it down, or you're going to have to replace all that, get rid of it before. It's very similar with the website. There's no point in doing other types of marketing, whether it's offline, online, if you don't have the website in check. So if you're running a billboard or doing mailers or anything digitally, people are going to find your websites. You want to make sure that looks really good before you do these other types, or it's just not going to be as effective. You want to make sure that's in order before you start doing these other types of marketing. I'm just curious, put a 1 in the chat if you are real happy with your website, think it's really good. Put a 2 if you think it struggles or you're having some problems. Some stats here put behind what I'll be talking about. So 75% of homeowners do some level of online research. So pretty much everyone wants to do some kind of research before they work with you. 94% of them say that the design is based off their first impression. So people do judge judge a book by its cover. So you need to make sure the design looks good before someone gets to the website. And then 38% of visitors abandon sites with poor design or irrelevant content. So if your website's being overshadowed by a competitor, you need to fix that, because that's something that they're going to have that advantage over you. And if they jump off your site and go to a competitor and they like that one better, that's when they're going to more likely to contact them instead. All right, so here's just a list of checklist items for the website. So need to make sure it's mobile friendly, need to use high quality images and videos. So I'd definitely recommend getting a professional to take some photos and videos of the projects you do. And then making sure you have contact forms on every page. So some people like to fill out a form. Some people like to use a phone number. Make sure those forms are there as an option. Make sure you have those Google reviews as a widget on each page. So you can link your Google reviews to the website to show those off. The name, address, and phone number, put that in the footer. Make sure that header is really, that phone number is very big. You don't want to have it hidden. You want to make it very clear and obvious as you scroll, and make sure that header is visible no matter where you scroll on the website. Make sure you have enough pages for each service. Make sure you have enough content for those pages, 700 words or more. And then you want to make sure there's a separate page for each city. So say you work in 20 or so cities, you want to have a separate page for each one individually. And About Us page, this is often overlooked. Most people want to see the About Us page and see who's behind the company. So having nice pictures of the owner, or it could be a family picture, or the team, having something about that on the About Us page is crucial. And then you got to make sure it's fast, because even if you have a great looking website, if it's really slow, people are still going to jump off it, go to the competition. So it doesn't matter if the website's very, very good looking if people are not able to actually load it. Sticky header seems like an older strategy. I mean, basically, yeah, it's going to lead to just more conversions. So if you have a website where you scroll down and you keep that phone number visible, you're going to get more conversions because people can see the phone number. So you always want to have that displayed, so that way they have no idea or no worry about how to reach out to you. So yeah, it'll increase conversions if you consistently show, the way to contact you as you navigate a site. Okay, so, and speaking of conversions, this is kind of a good segue here. So most websites aren't built to convert people properly. So example there, the phone number being visible, having call to actions throughout the website, just being built to convert people and push people towards where you want them to go is really critical. Most people just focus on a good looking site. Sometimes they don't even do that, but you have to make sure it accommodates Google, it ranks there, and also leads to conversion. So common scenario, say you have 500 visitors on a website, say it was only converting about 5% of the time. That's going to mean 25 calls or leads. Say that you convert, your sales conversion is 30%. That would mean around seven jobs. If we're talking, just use an average profit of 5,000 for probably on the more of the decking side. That would mean out of those 7 jobs, 5,000 profit each, you get 35,000. What people don't focus on is the conversion side, is updating their website. And what you can realize is if you do a good job with that, you improve it, you start to get a higher percentage of conversions just from your existing site. Even without doing SEO, you can increase the amount of conversions you get to a significant higher number. So say you went from 5 to 15%, that would then be 75 calls, same conversion, sales rate of 30%, but now you're getting 22 jobs with an average profit of 5,000 is 110,000. So it's absolutely worth looking into your website to see if it needs to be updated, because just doing that alone, if you're in a bad place with your website now, if you get it updated, it starts converting better, that's going to mean more jobs, more money sold just from that alone. Okay, just to give you an idea here. So this is a client website, but when I was talking about the big phone number, this is how we like to do it sometimes, putting a big number in the middle there. So it's very easy to see. And Jacob, as you're saying, as you scroll down, you can see the phone number no matter where you go. It doesn't get hidden. And usually, it's not uncommon for someone that has the money that can pay for these expensive outdoor living projects is older. So if they're not great with technology, you don't want to, it shouldn't be hidden, or it shouldn't be hard to find how to reach out to you. So that's why using a big phone number that follows you around is a big deal. And you can see here, having nice images, buttons to click to go fill out forms. You can see like different associations they're part of, or manufacturers, things like that. And if you scroll down here, even more, you would see, testimonial widgets and things like that. All right, just an example of this. Like I said, this is something I think everybody needs to have, is a better About Us page. So This is just one client where it shows, kind of a team picture and then individual pictures too. Get a photographer out there or just someone that's good with the camera, get some good lighting and just take the pictures. It shouldn't take more than, an hour to do everybody and then put them on the website. And that'll go a long way because people want to see who's behind the company and they'll kind of judge you based off that too. If you look like you're, just a grumpy, just a grump, I guess, on the website, like they're more likely not going to want to work with you. So, have some nice smiling faces. You could do a family photo too, just anything that looks like, you'd be fun to work with. All right. So hear this constantly and everyone's thinking about it and you should be, but curious to see how everyone feels about SEO as AI's kind of come into our lives and not really taking over, but AI is not going away. It's only going to get bigger. So just curious how everyone feels about SEO in the here and now. So put a 1 in the chat if you think SEO is as important as ever. Put a 2 in the chat if you think it's less important now for whatever reason or because of AI, any other reason than it has been in the past. Out of 1.5s. Still matters, but AI has eclipsed it.
I heard on the news this morning that they're about to add like ads in the lower tiers of ChatGPT. And I
Yep.
think that's just gonna re-elevate the like approach to SEO and why that's so important because it's gonna build on the same thing in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going in that direction in terms of AI. Like it's something you got to account for sure. But we do have we do a lot of research and follow a lot of this stuff in terms of where AI is like taken over or, how it's impacted SEO. It's definitely much less, it's not anywhere close to what people think. So what we've seen is everybody's kind of freaking out like it needs to be optimized for ChatGPT. That's where everyone's going. And the answer is yes, you do. Absolutely. But it's still extremely small. So what we've seen, we monitor all the leads from all sources and we do see ChatGPT leads and we do already optimize the websites for ChatGPT and all those things to kind of prepare. But what we've seen and in our circles, the other marketing agency owners, friends and stuff like that that have keeps track of this as well. Basically across the board, ChatGPT has been very low for just overall lead generation because when somebody's looking for a commercial search, they type in fence company near me or deck builder near me. Basically, AI for one is hidden. If you go to Google, they hide like all the chat GPT parts. So what we found is it's more for like the educational research. So people use it a lot for like finding out who's in the area. But when they're like, hey, I need a fence company, a deck builder, and they go to Google and type that out, that's where still the bulk of the leads. And that includes research that I found with people that use ChatGPT regularly and paid for it. So there's a guy named Neil Patel. He's a real big digital marketer. He did a study on that. And he said basically people that have a ChatGPT Pro subscription, those users still 85% of the time use Google for commercial searches. So, deck builder near me, fence company near me. Um, Yeah, so AI definitely has not eclipsed SEO. It's not even close. I don't think it ever will, but it's something you got to account for sure. We don't do anything with Reddit ads, but Reddit is important. You do need to do that for optimizing for AI, so that's important. Um, and then
Is it okay if I interject about the
sure,
AI thing?
sure,
Okay, so I mean, I would have agreed with you about 6 to 9 months ago, but of the five over $100,000 deck projects that I've had leads for in the last 6 months, every single one of them has done significant research and they've all utilized AI. And the reason why my company has been getting those leads is because of it. I've been showing up in AI search. So I'm just that's just what I'm seeing from my perspective. And Google's putting the AI search on top of the Google searches first. So that's why I feel like it's eclipsed it. But I that leads to my question. Now you know my standpoint is when it comes to that research that you just mentioned. How recent was that? Was that within the last 6 months, or was that
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year
It was
ago?
within, I don't know, it was definitely within the last 6 months. But yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you, like, you know,
Not trying to be contrary, just trying to.
yeah, it's basically what to answer your question. Yes, they use it for research and it is being used, but in terms of like the bottom of funnel leads, which is where we can all track things like Deck Builder, Fence Company Near Me, all of those, Google hides those searches. So those searches are still extremely prevalent, being used constantly on Google. We can see the search traffic, and those are the ones that lead to the best leads. So yeah, they are using that to, basically search for do research on it, but it's still, and this is backed with, I have a humongous endless network of agency owners where we talk about this. So it's lots and lots of leads. That's what we're seeing is most of them still go through Google for commercial searches, like bottom of funnel. What was this last one here? Many customers call back saying they asked chat for Deck Builder, but Google is still a trusted source for more ready. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, yeah, exactly it. So like the bottom of funnel leads, that's what we see is for that. Regardless, you need to account for it. It's only going one way, and that's in the favor of AI. But as of right now, that's what we're seeing with and yeah, it's interesting. All of them are coming from AI. I've never heard of that, but maybe we'll have to talk about that later or something. Um, but yeah, still basically the vast majority of the time, people are going to Google when they're looking for a service provider for a commercial search for those keywords that mean the most. So 87% of the time is basically how often they're going there. As I mentioned earlier, 85% is what the number was if they're using ChatGPT consistently. All right. So once they get there, once you type in Deck Builder Near Me, Fence Company Near Me, anything related to that, those bottom of funnel searches, basically the people that are ready to move, they're not showing the AI section. Um, they're only showing it for research purposes. If you're trying to say, find me the list of best deck builders, they'll show it for that. But that's still not searched very often compared to the keywords I was just talking about. And when that displays, this is kind of the breakdown. So 30% of people go to the ads, the local services ads. These are excellent for fencing. For decking, they're not great. They don't work as well for decking services. And then the pay-per-click is what we prefer for decking. So using pay-per-click ads for the decking side, you can use them for fencing too, but the Google local services ads tend to work best for the just for the fencing side. And that's going to get about 30% of all the traffic. The map pack here, this is going to be 45%. So most people go here. This is where you really want to make sure you have it dialed in, make sure you're showing up in the right locations, because these are going to be the best leads, the cheapest leads, and it's where the majority of people go. The website results right here, the screen section, this is 25%. This is all purely based off your website, how much authority you have for that, the content you have, the backlinks, all those things that basically increase your rankings. That's going to be related to the screen section here. And if you combine both the map pack, the green website results, 70%, that's going to be all related to SEO. So you do need to make sure you're doing SEO to get access to this 70%, this bulk of the leads. So very important to do that. The ads you can kind of use to supplement that too. Okay, so common opportunity missed with websites that I see is you basically, most websites don't seem to accommodate the right pages on the site. So if you can see here, these numbers here on the right, this is the number of searches per month on Google for each one of these keywords. So you can see there's a very wide distribution of keywords on here. And this will give you an idea as to what people are looking in the US, but you can also do this and narrow it down to your specific state, your counties, wherever you service. So you can see what people are searching. So as an example, when we would work with someone, we would basically find a list like this, see what people are typing in specifically in Google in that area. And then you want to build a page based off of those keywords. So some of these overlap a little bit. It's not like you have to have a separate one for all of them. Like you don't need every single one of these, but as an example, a common one might be maybe you're doing, and this is just the decking side, obviously, but maybe you're just doing louver pergolas or you're doing pool decks. What I would challenge you to do is look at your site and see if that's missing from the site and if you can be adding content related to that. Because if you're doing a pool deck or maybe on the fencing side, you're installing vinyl fence or wood, if you don't have that separate page that's talking about that specific service, it's going to be much harder to rank for it. So you're going to have basically a page that if your competitor had a pool deck page, somebody types that in your area, Google is going to rank them higher if that page is all about pool decks versus your page that's just decks in general or a home page. So Google will rank it higher because they want to find that result that's closest to what they're searching. And also you can think about it, if somebody's looking for a pergola and you have a specific page for outlining all the different types of pergolas or a louver pergola and your competitors don't, they're going to choose you just because it matches what they want specifically. So if you don't have it dialed in, you don't have these separate pages for each one of these services, that's something that you can improve and basically cast a wider net for things that you can show up for. Just curious, put a 1 in the chat if you feel like your website is optimized well for different pages, for different keywords like this, or if you think it could be improved. This is just for your website, the on page. So this is when I say on page, I mean what you see on a page, basically. So, what you see on the website page is how you can optimize that. So first thing is you want to make sure the content's good, and just an overall good user experience. So the content should be catered to the type of customer that you want, and it should be something that's pleasant to interact with. You can use things like, of course, you need to have good photos, but also videos. If you have videos, nice quality videos on the site, that can keep them on the page longer, which can help rankings and just experience overall. We just talked about the pages for each service that ties into that keyword list that we had. And then the cities, that would be, a separate page for each city. Make sure that content's unique. Don't just copy the same thing for all your pages and just change a couple words. Make sure that's unique. Make sure the keyword that you want to target, back to that, pool decks page, make sure the title, the H1 tag all have that main keyword in there. The meta description is what you see on Google. So make sure that description shows and kind of sells the click, sounds good and makes them want to click on it. The name, the address, the phone number, and the footer. Google likes to see consistent updates. You got to have consistent content. A blog is a great way to do that. Having just new content going out on the website, that's a good idea. And then make sure that website's fast. If your website's really slow, that's something you want to fix immediately. It's going to hurt all kinds of things. All right. So actually I have Rachel on here who's from Architects, but basically what you want to see, we talked about the phone number, having that nice and big, basically want to make sure things are in order to make it clear how to contact you. So making sure all that stuff is dialed in correctly, kind of similar to what we talked about the last website. And yeah, of course, SEO is still going to matter. It's basically, who knows where it's going to, I guess, go with AI. I think Google is going to win the AI race long term. That's kind of what I've heard people saying and just kind of how they're playing it. But I guess we'll see. But make sure you're aware of SEO as well as AEO and GEO, which is a whole nother webinar. But SEO is definitely the focus and where we're going to get the most leads for the foreseeable future. Okay, so I want to talk specifically about the map pack. This is kind of tied into SEO, but we were just talking about the website specifically, so I want to talk about the map pack here too. If you remember, 45% of people go to the map pack, so you have to show up here. And what I would really challenge you to do is see where exactly you're ranking. So just curious how everyone does this. Does anybody ever type in, a keyword related to their service to see where they rank? Put a 1 in the chat if you ever type in, deck builder in your city, Just typed in deck builder near me as you go through town and put a 2 if you've never really done that. Good. So you want to check that because the map pack is crucial. Like I said, it's about where almost half of all the leads go. So you want to see exactly where you're ranking around your office, around where you're located to see how far your reach is. Because the bigger the reach you have, the more areas you can rank under, the more leads you're going to get. All right. So with your Google listing, you need to make sure you have the right categories. This is a big one. So if you primarily do decks or fences, make sure that primary category is set to whatever that is, whichever one you do. You know, you don't want to set it to general contractor or construction company if you want to primarily get deck or fencing jobs. If you make that change alone, that should improve your rankings quite a bit. You absolutely, there's another huge one. Make sure you show your address. You don't want to be set up as a service area business. So you need to show that address. You don't want to have it hidden because if you do that, the rankings will just be naturally much lower than if you didn't hide them. We've had clients that we've done this for and immediately jumped the rankings up quite a bit just from showing that address. So it is a big deal. Reviews are huge too. I always say get at least a 30, but it really is going to depend on your competition. If your competition has 200 and you have 20 or 30, it's not going to mean a whole lot. You know, you're going to have to do a lot more. But typically, people start to feel comfortable around your business if you have, you know, at least 30 reviews. Make sure you're responding to them, even the bad ones. Make sure you add all your services and then actually add all your services as products too. And the Google posts, make sure you're doing that regularly. Make sure you're adding images regularly. And a little hack here, the hours of operation. The later you're open, the better. So, and earlier, because if you're sitting there at 9 to 5, your competitor is open till 9 and someone calls at 7 or 8, even if you're doing better SEO, Google will rank you lower just because they're open and you're not. All right, I see a couple questions here. What if you move? What if you move? How long does it take to bring rankings up after changing? So it should be your rankings are going to improve in that area. So if you move to a completely different city, change the address or just a new area, your rankings are going to move over there. You have to update your citations and all that stuff. But what we found is if you move, even if you have to update the citations, it typically outweighs, you know, if you move to a really good area versus like a really poor area, you're going to rank better for that spot. And that's going to get you more leads and better return versus if you ranked, you know, maxed out an area that didn't have the people that could afford what you do. So typically when you move, it's gonna improve that area much faster or really fast. If I search for fences dollars, would be accurate to how. So it'll show if you search from your own computer, it's going to rank you. It depends where you search from. So like if you search from your computer in your home office, like you're always going to rank number 1 in the map pack. So you want to search that when you're a little bit farther away. But Google can save preferences and rank websites higher if you consistently go to them. So that you do got to watch out for that. Use different browsers, incognito mode. For the address if you don't have an office. Yeah, that's a common question, Kurt. So I hear that all the time. In fact, I heard it today. If you don't want to show your home address, kind of just you have to do it. If you don't show your address, your rank is going to be much lower. Quite honestly, someone can probably find your home address if they wanted to, anyways. I don't think I've ever not been able to find a home address, even if they weren't showing on Google. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, because it's going to vastly outweigh the negatives. What are your thoughts on having not? Yeah, Mike, that's what you should be doing. So if you're in Minneapolis, I might be seeing you here in like 2 weeks at the BPI summit because I'm speaking there, but and I'll actually be talking about some of this. I don't know if you're going to that or not, but yeah, if you're in the Southeast, and you want to rank, if you want to rank there, then yeah, get an office. You have to do the video verification. There are steps to that, and it can be kind of complex. If you want to send us an email or something, we can show you the SOPs for getting verified. But to answer your question, yeah, that's a great way. And that's something we do often is getting like a cheap office space that clients don't even want to go to in a new area to get them verified. And then that opens up that whole section of the map for them. And actually, Mike, if you go to our website, I literally just got back from the Timber Tech Summit and I did 4 presentations on that. So you can see the presentation. I literally talk about how you can do that in detail there. So that's on our website. Actually, Matilda, I don't know if it was added to the website yet. I know it's on YouTube. So maybe if you can find that link.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add the link to the chat. You think?
Okay. Yeah, that's going to outline that whole thing. That's a good idea. Mike, I'm glad you're thinking like that. All right. All right. So on to pay-per-clicks. We talked about the map pack and SEO. Put a 1 in the chat if you like pay-per-click. Put a 2 in the chat if you're not a fan. Here's how everyone thinks about them. Not surprised I'm seeing some 2s. Lance, bunch of 2s. Yeah, I get that a lot. So a lot of people are iffy about pay-per-click for sure. So, but the question is, can they really drive a return on the investment? I'm going to dive in and kind of give you some ideas on that. Because in the reality, yes, they can. You just got to be doing them right. A lot of problems stem from Google pay-per-click is they're just super complicated. They're not easy to run. That's why they started the local services ads, and those are great, but not for decking. So we're kind of, anybody that's in the decking world is kind of screwed there, but they do work. You just got to have them set up properly. And it is a lot of work. And you have to have a lot of input from different team members to get it done. At least that's how we do it. So the good news about it is it's the fastest thing with SEO. It takes more time. You got to build reviews. You got to build that authority to get those rankings. With pay-per-click, you don't have to worry about that. You jump to the top right away. Also, you can expand much further. With SEO, you're limited on the reach. So with pay-per-click, you can kind of go as far as you'd like. There's really no limit to how you scale them, and you can control that budget to get what you want. You can also, if you set up the tracking right, get a really measurable ROI. You can get those clear metrics, those clear numbers that are all recorded within Google, so you kind of know how good you're doing. The cons, most people are skipping the ads, as we just talked about. 70% skip it. They can definitely be expensive. You basically don't get to keep your hard work. That goes away as soon as you stop paying Google. Like I said, they're complicated, and they are a quick way to burn money if you're not careful. So you got to make sure you're doing them right. And Google has made them very complicated, so it's hard to really know how good they're doing and what that ROI is if you're not careful. But they mostly fail for a couple of reasons. So a big one is landing pages. The vast majority of the time, whenever I do an audit of Google pay-per-click, they're not using landing pages. A landing page is basically a separate page on the website that shows just what you want to see or what is related to the ad. You don't go to the main website that shows a million pages. You go to one page that you basically can't click off of and just shows exactly what you want to see. You know what? I'll give you an example really quick. So as an example here, you can see this is not a main website. It doesn't have menu items. It just shows off what's going on, what's unique about a company, the team, different services, material types, the project, service areas, and then photos. So something like this is what's going to keep people on the website, on that landing page, and get them to act versus getting distracted and clicking around. The next thing is going to be the ad groups, the campaigns. You don't want to have one campaign for everything and send everybody to the homepage. If somebody is looking for a specific thing, you want the ad copy to be around what they're searching and send them to a page that matches that as well. You don't want to send them to a very general page that doesn't match what they want. So you want to set up those different ad groups. You want to make sure, we talked about this, the text ads, all the landing pages, they all should match. It should be one uniform experience where they type in a keyword, the text in the ad matches what they want, and then they go to a landing page that matches that too. Also, the call to actions, making it clear how to reach out to you, similar to the main website we were talking about, need to be very clear how to contact you that way. Oh, I forgot to create a slide for this. So we already went through that. Okay, so just to give you some idea what you can expect, it's different from every area, but this is just one client that we saw for 30 days. Pay per click leads 27, just under 3,000, 110 cost per lead, 20% conversion rate. Then you can see the clicks and impressions. So the most important is definitely going to be the total spend, average cost per lead, conversion rate, and then also the search impression share. You want to make sure you're showing up the majority of the time. People are typing in those keywords. All right, Facebook ads. Basically with this, they are, well, let's see if anyone is running these two. Just type in a 1 if you're running med ads, some form of. And to answer your question, Chris, it would be 1 per service. So if you're running, I'm not sure if you're fencing or what, but if you're decking, I don't know. But if I guess like a decking example, if you're running one related to like a deck builder, deck and contractor, that could be a page. But if you're running one for like pergolas or patios, that should be a different page. Okay, so not many. Okay. So what people typically complain with Facebook ads is the quality of leads not that great. And the reason for that is basically you're trying to go after people while they're searching or wasting time on Facebook. So it's generally going to be a worse lead versus Google, where that's bottom of funnel lead and somebody's like, hey, let's reach out. We're ready for a new fence or a new deck. So a really great study done by Neil Patel. He said that if somebody's selling B2C, whichever one here is 10,000 or more, which fencing might not be that much, but decking sure is, somebody needs to see your business 23 times before they actually choose who to work with. So there used to be in marketing like the rule of 7. Now that's just completely obliterated because we're all shown ads constantly on social media and along with everywhere else. So you need to make sure you're following people around, need to make sure they're seeing your company and familiar with it before. Because as an example, if somebody's going to spend a lot of money on a fence or deck, they're going to want to know who's behind this company or have some kind of feeling about them before they work with you, because they don't want to just spend money and have some terrible experience. They want to see what your company's about. If you can run ads to kind of show off your work and things like that, that's going to go a really long way. Video content is definitely king. So having nice video content is what you want to do. And you want to retarget people. So you want to make sure you're following them around. You want to make sure that you're monitoring if they watch another one of your ads so that you can retarget them and show them an ad that's further down the funnel. So you start at top of funnel, they watch that, you go to middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and just show them more about your company. So like on the decking side, if someone's going to spend 50 grand on a new deck, you want to show them the work you've done, about the company, who's behind it, answer some of their questions they might have about the process or permitting. And, if you have a deal, you can show them that too. But these are just great for branding and just getting in front of people, like all the top brands that we can think of. We've seen them a million trillion times. So that's what you want to do in your local place. Use Facebook ads to really go after them and find them. It's infinite scalability. You're going to be able to, use them pretty much as you want, and a great way to set yourself apart, especially if you have good branding. So just look at this. Fencing, landscape, deck and rail. Yeah. So Chris, you just want to separate those for sure. That's a pretty wide array there. You definitely need some different landing pages. All right, pros and cons here. So pros, you can be precise with the targeting, find the areas you want to go. There's no really limit to the reach that you have. It's typically cheaper and more affordable than Google ads. So you're going to not have to break the bank to run these. Typically, retargeting is just crucial. You have to run retargeting ads. I recommend just about anybody doing those, or at least once you get to a certain size. Those are the best way to chip away at that 23 different touch points. And they're really just easier to manage than pay-per-click, in my opinion, although you do have to create videos and stuff, which can be another learning curve. But the interface, everything is just a little bit easier to use. The cons is you're not getting those bottom of funnel leads. You're getting the people that are at the top. And, the only way to get those higher quality ones is to use retargeting and kind of work them through the phases. But in general, Google is where people go when they're ready to move. You have to respond quickly. So if you don't have your sales process set up properly and somebody that can reach out really quick might not be the best option for you. Within 2 minutes is what they say. After 2 minutes is when it starts to drop drastically in terms of, basically how likely they are to actually sign up with you. So you need to have that dialed in. And overall, just lower intent, just lower in general what people are when they're looking at that. So what I typically see with meta ads fail, if you're not using video, that's a big mistake. I understand it can be tough. So, you kind of do need to find somebody. You can find somebody overseas that can do a great job, or you could find someone locally, but someone needs to help edit that video. If you're using generic stock photos and content, it's not going to look great. Definitely don't use any of those pictures with the hard hats on. And the lead form ads, this is a very, very common mistake. You don't want to. So what I typically see with meta ads is people just go right for the kill. They start running an ad like, just talking about what promotion they're running without anything to kind of warm up the lead. So they'll run that ad and say, here's this deal, buy from us, but that's all they started running. They didn't run anything before that. And they send them to a Facebook lead form, which is super easy to fill out and seems logical. But the problem is when you make it that easy, on top of it being a Facebook ad, it just ends up being a lower quality lead because they're just not committed. They have no skin in the game. They're just like, oh, this is easy. Let's fill it out and just see what happens. They don't care. It took no time at all. So you want to put them through the ringer a little bit, retarget them, send them to a website page or a landing page and get them to fill out a form there. Because if they do, they have some kind of commitment. They spent some time to figure it out before they reached out to you, not just took the path of least resistance and put it all on you to basically reach out. So you want to make sure, I would recommend sending them to the website or landing page, depending on what type of ad. If you're not retargeting, you're missing out big time. If you're not using them for branding, it's also a big mistake. You want to strengthen your brand through those. The website experience, if you send them to a website that's just atrocious, it's not gonna end well. So you want to make sure that website's in good order before you start running them. Also, something people don't recognize or realize, your reviews follow you around everywhere too. So just like you need a great website, if you have bad reviews, people are probably going to find them. People are very unlikely to just see an ad and be like, oh yeah, let's use this company without seeing what reviews they have. I think just about everyone here uses Amazon. Whenever I use Amazon, if it's a $20 thing, I'm looking up the reviews to see, and I won't use it if it's bad reviews. Of course, the same thing's going to happen for a deck or a fence. They're going to want to see those reviews before they reach out. Also, the targeting, if you're not targeting the right audience, that's going to cause problems too. I'm just curious, did anybody put a 1 in the chat if any of these mistakes made sense, or you've had any of these problems with the meta ads? You think that might, so like put a 1 if any of those sound familiar. 1, okay. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All right, cool. All right. All right. We talked about this already, the top of funnel model, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. So this is the best way. This is what we're redoing our Facebook strategy around. Having a top of funnel that's talking, getting some interest in your service. So you want to have ads that are just, maybe it's a before and after of a new fence or a deck, something that gets them to watch the video, show some interest, go to the landing page. And then you can retarget them if they watch the video, and then that'll bring them to a middle of funnel ad, which will bring them more information about maybe the company. The middle of funnel will be about the company or client testimonials or before and afters, things like that. Just, maybe it could be educational stuff too, like answering common questions. Bottom of funnel, is what they would reach after they've been through those stages. That's when you're going to start talking about the deals that they might have, or, any kind of offers that you have, or just anything that's going to say like more of a buy now thing is where that bottom of funnel. So you want to stagger those ads, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and retarget them throughout. All right. Social media, have a lot of talks about this and kind of the importance of it. I personally think it should be managed internally, but it should be the last thing out of all these that you do. I would focus your efforts on getting everything else really dialed in before you focus on the social media. Main reason is it's just hard to track the ROI, and it generally doesn't lead to a lot of consistent lead flow like the others do. But if you are to a point, 3+ million, 4 or 5, can be a good idea. Just make sure, I would recommend doing it. Best cases internally, something is better than nothing, but having that good crew to take videos of the jobs you're on, things like that, is going to be best. Make sure you're using video content. And like I said, if revenue's 3 million plus is kind of the best way, generally the best time to do it. But it is inexpensive if you're doing it yourself. You're going to have that brand awareness. People do like going to these pages and see, so it's nice to have that, at least show off your work there in case they want to go find it. Talk about inside the business, what it's like working with you, helps build that trust. But the cons, as I said earlier, it's hard to gauge the ROI. It's not a huge lead generator, and it is consistent. If you do social media and want to get more consistent with it, the best way, and how I do it, is just dedicate a day of the week to build content. So like for me, every day or every week, Tuesday, 8 to 12 is when I create content, and I'll try to do multiple weeks at once if I can. So just batch post that. If you can bring in someone to help you, just do it all at once. It's going to help out. All right. So the biggest thing though that I see out of all these, and most people seem to have this problem, it's not what you would think. So not just SEO, the website. What we typically see is the biggest issue is just not managing the leads properly. So any lead that's not responded to within 5 minutes are 21 times more likely to convert versus leads that are responded after 30 minutes. So if you're waiting 30 minutes or more, they're going to convert 21 times less likely than if it was within 5 minutes. So this is kind of like I was talking about, the website is the hub. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is, how good everything is rolling, if you don't have the sales team or the sales process to figure it out. So you need to make sure you have someone that can reach out to these fast and do it, or else you're essentially just going to be wasting the marketing money and kind of hoping that someone didn't talk to a competitor, which they likely will. So you want to make sure, ideally 5 minutes, really 2 minutes, the faster the better. Rachel printing this out to hang in our office, just answer the phone. Yeah. And getting someone designated to do it. I will say I was extremely horrible about this. Luckily, I have Matilde, who is much better at it. And, she handles all the calls and is much better about being responsive. But I can relate where it's like a lot to answer a call. And, if you're bogged down by a million other things, you just don't feel like it. I can totally relate to that. So that's why I really think you should get someone that's designated to do it. I like answering services personally because they're cheaper than in-house, but you can also get good in-house people, of course, too. But get somebody that just takes it off your plate. How annoying is it to answer spam calls? Like, I think everyone could agree how nice it would be if you didn't have to answer another spam call and somebody else could do it. So finding someone that can handle that for you, it's going to be worth the cost easily, for one. And just the peace of mind is just amazing too. So make sure you're getting those leads. By the way, if you want an answering service, Jill's office is a lot of our clients use, and somebody we refer them a lot because just clients have liked them. So they're maybe Matilde put that in there too, if anyone's interested. That's a really good platform. And 78% of customers choose a company that responds first. So I think everyone can agree we're all more impatient than ever. People want to see they want something fast. I'm extremely guilty of that. If I'm calling like an HVAC person on my house, I want to find someone extremely quick. So be that first person, be the one that's unique and always picks up the phone. Use Joe's office or something similar, so you never have to worry about picking up a call. And then on average, businesses take up to 47 hours to respond, which is just insane. And this is another big one. Make sure you're following up. If I had to guess, probably the most people are following up is like 2 to 3 times. Keep them in your pipeline, sending them messages. We're building an AI to help with this right now. But you got to have something to follow up, not just give up after, 1 or 2 times if you really want to take advantage of those leads. So it is worth to have that person to really be relentless about these leads and not just give up on them, because good chance you're going to turn some of them into a sale too. Put a 1 in the chat if you're happy with your sales process. If you feel like you respond quickly, put a 2 if you feel like you don't. Nice, Chris. Gotta say, I think this is the first webinar I've done where I've gotten 1.5s. Now it's contagious. Yep. Yeah, like what Rachel said. I mean, there's no hurt in trying it, like don't be annoying, but like what's the point in not doing something like that to reach back out, and see what they're saying or see if they are interested again.
I've also found that every lead we get October through December, if you like call them once and they never answer, or you feel like they ghost you, like I call them again after January 1st because we've gotten 5 jobs this week from that,
There
where
you
like
go.
I just called them back and they were like, "Oh yeah, sorry, got bogged down with the
Yeah.
holidays."
Yep. 100%. I mean, I can relate to that too. It's like I get texts sometimes where I'm like, I just don't have the time to think through this to respond. That's probably what's going on with most of these homeowners. They switch gears. Maybe they had like a little break or whatever, and then they went back to work or whatever, whatever the case may be. They got that text and they just think, oh, I don't have the time to deal with this. Let me put it there. Then they forget about it. It becomes less and less important. You keep popping it up. If you do 2 or 3 times, they're not going to care. But I think if you go 5 to 7, that's when they're like, all right, well, they're being pretty persistent. I'm starting to feel bad. Let me let me respond. That kind of thing. All right. So we talked about the solutions, answering service. You can use automation, using follow-ups. We have like automations built in-house, but the AI is what we're excited, or I'm most excited for. And, automate the follow-up. You can use text. You should use text, especially if you realize that that's what they like to engage with. So reaching out via text is a really good idea too. All right. So we already talked about this, but I want to show it just because we went through a lot of things here. But this is kind of the different options depending on revenue, website and SEO, Google listing. Those should always be the priority. Make sure that's in the right area. Google ads, 1 to 2 million, 2 to 3, adding those Facebook ads in, 3+, social media, that kind of thing. And all these are scalable too. You can increase your Google ad spend if you want to get more leads and make more money, that kind of thing. All right. So we went through a whole bunch of stuff digitally, the website, the SEO, the Google Maps, pay-per-click, Facebook, social media, follow-up. So in the beginning, we said, where we need to focus most to start. Now I'm curious what you think now. So after everything we've talked about, write down what you think you need to do the most, where you think the most holes are versus what will get you where you want to go. So I'll give you a couple minutes there. Feel free to put that in the chat if you want to share it too. Mandy had specific location pages, the website, add a few more specific. Yep. Nice. Good call, Rachel. Got Mandy adding that to the list. Love it. Nice. Love the headshots. Yeah, I think just Daniel's on your website. It'd be cool to get some team pictures, especially with how much you guys have grown.
Yeah, the new salesman, I feel weird that he's like walking up to people's houses and they don't even know what to
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah, that's a good idea. 24 more leads a month. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got clients getting 300 more. Yeah, 24. I mean, this time of year, that can be normal for some clients for sure when in like the off season, but in general, that should be very low, especially in the busy seasons. It depends. It totally depends on the size of the company and how far along they are. But to answer your question for sure, definitely a lot more than that for some. All right. All right. So top three actions, just write those down. Like I said, I want this. I know you're all are taking the time to do this, but I want it to be beneficial to you. I want you to actually come out of this with something and something you can kind of hold the team to and discuss with your team. So having that meeting to say, these are the problems, these are the top three items that we need to do, and making it a goal to get it done, depending on which one it is, how involved it is. But, speed loves money. So getting it done in quarter 1, if you had to, I don't know, move your location or get started with some type of ad, something like that. But put those in, top three items. That way you have something that these are the main focus. Because I threw a lot at you. There's a whole million different things you can do, but I want to make sure, we get at least something done, not get overwhelmed by a million things all at once, basically. So put the top three items there in the workbook. Oops. All right. So, so I just double check this all works here too, but we did create a whole, and where's the link to that, Matilda, the new web app that you created? We can give them both, but
The what? I'm sorry.
the web app that you created that shows like the marketing calculation to calculate like the marketing spend.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the link right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is really cool here. This is a whole spreadsheet that'll allow you to calculate your marketing budget. It'll say what your goal is, what that needs to be monthly. You have put in your ticket price, what you close at, and it'll say exactly how many calls you need to basically hit your goal. So rather than just kind of guessing, this will say like, all right, I need this many leads. This is what I'm getting. What do I need to improve on to do that? It'll also show you your marketing budget, so you can actually, a very common thing is people expect to have this huge jump in an increase in revenue, but there's no increase in marketing spend. So if you want to jump 1 million in revenue, but you're doing nothing different, that's going to cause problems. This spreadsheet here, it does similar things, but Matilde created this super cool thing here to calculate that. So you can put in your revenue, average ticket value. That'll show you how many jobs you need. And then this is your closing percentage. So it'll show how many leads you need. So it'll say, boom, this is what you need. So I'm just going to put in, like, say, like 2,500. Say I'll just do Dex and 20,000. So that means you need to have 11. Wow, that's a high percentage. Let me say 30. So if you wanted to hit 2.5 million with an average ticket price of 20,000, you need to have 11 jobs and then 37 leads to hit that. And then you have the budget planner here. We can say, the same thing, your revenue, your marketing investment. The Small Business Administration says, I think it's like 5 to 12, something like that. So 8 is kind of a good number. It should be set 8% of your revenue target. That's how it's set up. And then you can allocate this based off of online, offline, and repeat business. So it'll allow you to calculate the SEO, pay-per-click, all this stuff. It's a super fun tool to mess around with, and it just makes life a lot easier. So make sure to click on that in the chat. And Lance, she just put it right above your chat. Oh, I think you already responded. Yeah. Yeah, it is tough. I would do both. I think they're pretty similar, but at least this you can have a separate document that you can kind of save and maybe share with team members. So save that. And this is the other half of that spreadsheet. This is also part of the tool though too. But same thing there. All right. So any questions anybody has about this stuff. And if you have any interest in a marketing audit, if you want us, Jacob said the link's broken. Copy and paste it and it works. Thanks, Manny. If you have any questions about your specific marketing, I mean, we're already in January. If you want to discuss yours specifically, we can do an audit. We can basically go through your business individually and show you exactly what holes there are, any potential improvements, and also if what you're doing is aligned with what your goal is, because that's something that usually is a problem. So if you have any questions, or if you're interested, I can put a 1 in the chat. And Matilde, if you want to send that link to, I just realized I don't think we have a QR code for it, to the calendar. We can put that in there too if you want to schedule something. It's super quick, just 15 minutes, but we got to ask some information about your business, what you want, and then we can do an audit specifically to your company. And we'll come back and show you what we found, what's looking good, what can be improved, that sort of thing. Man, you said I've done this discovery call with you in the past. Very helpful. That's weird.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions at all about anything specific to them? Yeah. If you want to schedule anything, want to talk specifically, you can reach out to that link that Tilde just sent. Do we utilize Metapixel on meta ad campaigns? Yeah. So you got to use the pixel. That's how you retarget people. So you want to put that pixel on your website, the landing pages, so you can retarget them and basically retarget them and show them the other ads that you have. So that's how you kind of follow them around. All right. Well, there's nothing else. I think that'll do it. So if you want to reach out after this, just head through our website and click Matilde's link, or just give us a call and we'll go from there. But I hope everyone has a great 2026. Hope this provided some value and you're kind of set you up well for the new year. And yeah, hope everyone kills it. See you, everybody.